Hi, my dear children. How are you all? I hope you all are doing well. So, welcome to our English class. So, children, do you remember the name of the story that I taught you in the previous class? Yes, very good. The name of the story is The Boy Who Drew Cats, which is written by Hasegawa Takejiro, who is a Japanese writer. So we will start today's class with a small summary of the previous class. Once upon a time in Japan, there lived a poor farmer who had many children. They all were very hardworking except his youngest child. So his parents decided to take the boy to a priest and to make him an acolyte. So children, tell me, who is an acolyte? An acolyte means an assistant of priest. So the boy was very clever. He learned all his portions well. But he had one fault. He drew cats wherever he sees. He drew cats during study hours also. One day, the priest saw this and he told the boy that he is not fit to be an acolyte. Instead, he will become a great artist in future. The priest told the boy that avoid large places at night and keep to small. The boy did not understand what does this mean. So he left the temple. He went to another temple hoping to take a night's shelter without knowing the fact that all the priests were driven away by a giant goblin rat. The boy went inside the temple and he started drawing cats wherever he sees. Then he became very tired and sleepy. Now let's see what happens in the story. The temple was very large and the boy was all alone. He was thinking of the words by the priest. Avoid large places at night and keep to small. But the boy was not able to understand them. He began to feel a little afraid. He also began to feel sleepy. But in the night, he heard a terrible noise. He became even more scared. The light in the temple went out, but the sound continued. After a long time, there was silence, but the boy did not move till the morning. Then he got out of his hiding place. The first thing he saw was that all the floor of the temple was covered with blood. And also he saw an enormous monstrous rat, a goblin rat, lying dead on the floor. But the boy did not understand who or what could have killed it. Suddenly, the boy observed that the mouths of all the cats he had drawn the night before were red and wet with blood. Then he understood that the goblin had been killed by the cats which he had drawn. Now the boy understood why the wise old priest had said to him, avoid large places at night and keep to small. Afterwards, the boy became a very famous artist in Japan. So, students, did you understand the story? Okay. Now, let's go through the new words. Cabinet. Cabinet means a small private room. Awaken. Awaken means to wake from sleep. Screaming, to cry out aloud. Dreadful, terrible. Chink, Chink means a narrow opening. Awful. Awful means extremely bad or unpleasant. Cautiously. Cautiously means carefully. Now students, we will do the model reading of the text. So, please read all these sentences along with me. The temple was very large. He was all alone, and as he thought of these words, though he could not quite understand them, he began to feel for the first time a little afraid, and he resolved to look for a small place in which to sleep. He found a little cabinet with a sliding door and went into it and shut himself up. Then he lay down and fell fast asleep. Very late in the night, he was awakened by a most terrible noise, a noise of fighting and screaming. It was so dreadful that he was afraid even to look through a chink of the little cabinet. He lay very still, holding his breath for fright. The light that had been in the temple went out, but the awful sounds continued and became more awful, and all the temple shook. After a long time, silence came, but the boy was still afraid to move. He did not move until the light of the morning sun shone into the cabinet through the chinks of the little door. Then he got out of his hiding place very cautiously and looked about. The first thing he saw was that all the floor of the temple was covered with blood. And then he saw lying dead in the middle of it an enormous monstrous rat, a goblin rat bigger than a cow. But who or what could have killed it? There was no man or other creature to be seen. Suddenly, the boy observed that the mouths of all the cats he had drawn the night before were red and wet with blood. Then he knew that the goblin had been killed by the cats which he had drawn, and then also for the first time he understood why the wise old priest had said to him, "Avoid large places at night, keep to small." Afterward, that boy became a very famous artist. Some of the cats which he drew are still shown to travelers in Japan. So, students, we have completed this story. I hope you all have enjoyed this story. Now, let's see the activity. See here, you can see a flow chart which is incomplete. What you have to do is you have to write the events that led to the death of the goblin rat and complete this flow chart. So students, thank you all. We will meet in the next class with the next lesson.